Alright lads, and welcome back to another Stogie Lad cigar review. Boy am I hyped to make this one. I have got an incredibly rare, and to match that rareness it's incredibly hyped. Together just a very hard stick to find with an enormous amount of hype. It's the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust Sobremesa Blue. So if you guys know about this, Steve Saka, when he left Drew Estate, obviously a master blender there, the guy behind the Liga Privada line and all this stuff, he left Drew Estate, made his own cigar company, sort of a boutique company, Dunbarton, and made success after success after success. He started the Sobremesa line, then he started the Sobremesa Brûlée line under that, which is meant to be a Connecticut cigar, and it's meant to be a Connecticut cigar of old times. So none of that bitterness. It's supposed to be very refined and smooth like Connecticut cigars used to be way back in the day. And then within that Brûlée line, which is a smash hit, he released this blue. So it's a little bit of a different adjusted band. And these are the same blend, but it's a different vitola with a little pigtail, and they're more aged than the others. And apparently only 1,000 boxes were made, so these are insanely rare. In 2020, these were some of the most hyped cigars that were released that year. You saw these everywhere. People were raving about them, and they were so hard to find. Luckily, I had a friend in Miami who traveled and found a box, so he brought a few here. So I have the privilege and pleasure to smoke one of these insanely rare cigars. So hyped. I was just hoping to try the Sobremesa Brûlée line because it's gotten such good reviews as being an incredible Connecticut cigar. But then he told me he found some blues, and I was just blown away because I didn't think you could still find some of these. But luckily enough, got a hold of some, so finally can review this incredible cigar. And wow, I'm hyped. So it's meant to be just an absolutely incredibly flavorful, well-rounded Connecticut cigar. Perfect draw right there. And there has been a little bit of discussion whether or not the tips of these, the caps, are sweetened. Now, I just tasted the cap right there, and it definitely tasted sweetened. But Steve Saka is adamant that he doesn't sweeten the cigar. He actually made a sampler where he sweetened some of the tips and didn't sweeten some of the tips, and people were meant to guess which were sweetened and all that stuff. So yeah, kind of controversial in that sense, because some people swear by the fact that these are sweetened. I'm not sure, but all in all, the cigar is supposed to be incredible. So I'm going to light this up. Let's see how the first puff is, and then I'll get back to you guys in the first third though. Light and creamy, an enormous sweetness on my lips. I definitely get where people are coming from with the sweetened cap. It's not a lot though. Like with the acids, they're incredibly sweet. This is not a lot. A little bit of white pepper. Just tastes very much like a classic Connecticut cigar so far. I'll get back to you guys in the first third and see how this develops. But wow, am I hyped to smoke this finally. Alright, so into the first third now. Something I failed to mention before is the size of the cigar. It's a 46 ring gauge by 6 1/4 or 6.5 inches. So it's a Gran Corona Gorda, which for me is a perfect size. This, in many ways, reminds me of a Davidoff, in the sense that it's a sort of luxury Connecticut cigar. Sort of rare, as a lot of Connecticut cigars are just sort of marketed for beginners, just light cigars, not a lot of thought put into them. This is very much not the case. Whatever sweetness off the cap in the beginning was there. In the first few puffs, it disappeared almost immediately. In the beginning, there was a bit of white pepper, not any cedar, which I often get in Connecticut cigars, and no harshness at all. It's very creamy. There's a lot of cafe latte and nuttiness in the beginning, but now I think the sort of dominant profile is, again, that cafe latte, creamy sort of lighter coffee, and a nice vanilla is there. There's a bit of sweetness. It's very well rounded. But yeah, as I said, not a single bit of bitterness. A lot of cheaper Connecticut cigars, they're sometimes bitter, harsh a little bit. None of that. On the long, again, creamy finish. A tiny bit of wood, but not a lot. And then there's a pretty big barnyardy note on the finish, but way back. The construction is as perfect as you can get. Another thing that reminds me of a Davidoff. The draw is perfect, construction, burn, everything is absolute perfection. This is delivering a beautiful smoke so far. It retails about $15 US, I think, a stick in the US, which is not a crazy amount, but for some people might be a lot for Connecticut. But so far I'm absolutely loving this cigar. It is so creamy. This is sort of midday. It's absolutely perfect right now. So yeah, I mean, probably so far the best Connecticut I've had, sort of in line with some of the other Davidoffs, but this is actually at a much lower price, so that's a pretty good thing. But we'll see how the second third goes. So far, beautiful though. About 40 minutes into the second third now, and boy, what a smoke. I didn't know how much hype there would be, like overhyped, because in general I'm not a huge fan of Connecticut cigars. This is mind-blowingly good. Vanilla's all gone now. I'd say the coffee's gone. Right now, there's a sweetness, almost like a baked breadiness and like a cinnamon. Very close to like a Swedish cinnamon bun, to be completely honest. It's delicious. On the finish, it turns into a wood. But then even after that, it turns into like a roasted nut, like a very roasted nut style finish. It's very long. And the cigar is still extremely creamy, almost buttery, like it just coats your mouth. It's like very, 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 very creamy. I'm surprised by this. The aroma coming off the foot is even more like baked bread. It's absolutely lovely. The aroma is fantastic. It's burning, again, still perfectly. Lovely flavor shifts. This is just an incredible earlier in the day cigar. And right now, this far in, it's the best Connecticut cigar I've ever had. For sure. I mean, there's some Davidoffs that have come decently close, but this is still kind of even beyond that. I think this is just more complex than in most Connecticut wrapper Davidoffs I've had. We'll see how the final third is. I'll give my final score then. Obviously, the cigar is far from over, so we'll see if it still holds up, but so far, just brilliant. All right, I'm into the final third here. Well over an hour and 10 minutes in, and I've still got a ways to go. But I'm feeling this final third is sort of all the same notes. I can kind of confidently give my my final thoughts here. This is kind of a long smoke though. I thought it was burning pretty quickly in the beginning, but it's definitely going to be like an hour and 20. Probably you could even stretch it out to an hour and a half, which is nice. This final third is turning out to be a pretty dark and heavier cigar. It's been light to medium all the way through. Now it's definitely towards medium. What you got here in the end, I think it's this Mexican San Andres binder, that dark binder that's bringing out these heavier notes now when you're coming towards the end. But it's definitely more earth. That coffee's come back in a more espresso style, and none of those lighter, sweeter notes are there. Not really a lot of sweetness left. The smoke is still dense and creamy, the same way it's been all throughout. Still very delicious, just adds to the complexity, even though it's kind of a dramatic shift here in the end. All throughout, I think I'm still strongly in favor of this being the best Connecticut wrapper cigar I've had. Just so complex, and what Steve Saka's really done here is he's taking all the best parts of a Connecticut, the creaminess, the natural sweetness in there, some of those lighter notes, and he's taken away all the unpleasantness of a Connecticut cigar. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of the cheaper, just standard Connecticut cigars, they have a lot of bitterness, sometimes a sharp cedar in the beginning, and kind of a lot of spice. This had a little bit of spice in the beginning, a tiny bit of spice here in the end. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but just paired with like the bitterness and harshness you can often get in a Connecticut cigar, especially in the first third, this has just completely mastered the blend of the Connecticut, and I'm pretty blown away with this, how good this is. I'm sure these are going to be pretty hard to get, probably almost impossible, the blues, but it's the same blend as a regular Sobremesa Brûlée, but these have been aged. So if you just get the normal Brûlées, they're probably fantastic right off the top, or if you want to age them, you get this cigar, just I guess in different vitolas. But I can heavily recommend that cigar if it's the same blend, which is, it supposedly is, which is fantastic. So definitely get that if you want a lighter cigar. To give this a score, I'll give this a solid 94 all the way throughout. So complex, beautiful flavors, just a lovely, lovely cigar and a long smoke, and absolutely perfectly rolled. And that's still coming from me, who's not a huge Connecticut fan, like I mentioned. So I'm just very, very happy with this cigar. Definitely try the Brûlée if you can find that. And yeah, I'm just gonna continue enjoying this wonderful cigar. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.